In light of everything that we're hearing about fake news and Russia, and everything's coming down really hard on CNN and Fox, really CNN thanks to Project Veritas, and I'm sure that a lot of you have already heard of the news. I'll post a link in the description box just to keep you up to pace in case you don't know what I'm talking about, but you probably have some idea. Okay, so we're in a situation now where it has developed in our greater society that people are waking up. They're forced to. They're forced to wake up to a lot of the activity that these scoundrels in the media and the government do, what these people are positioning themselves to doing in order to throw the other political party under the bus and so forth, but only after we are given weeks and months of information that would support the lie. What does this do? When you support a lie for weeks and months, and you let a greater part of society actually believe those things, you're going to have a population of people who will defend those lies because that's what they've been told by the media, and that's what they're going to go ahead and support because they think, well, it must be the truth, particularly if it's against someone who they don't like anyway. But now we have some pretty damning footage. It's just starting, and I suspect more will come, of hearing how there's no way that these lies were even true, right? Hence, creating the perfect fake news proof, even for the most staunch believers of wanting to dislike Trump and thinking he is in with Russia. When you hear something coming from an insider, that it's basically nonsense. We'll see how much this is pushed. It could go either way. This is why it's this is why it's pure conspiracy. Conjecture on my behalf. It's my opinion. So if you don't want to listen to my opinion, bye bye. If you do, enjoy the crazy, because I'm going to give it to you. All of this fake news, and I've said this before, this was all planned. This is all one big lie. It's all a big lie. The fake news is part of the lie that's about to be handed to us on a cake platter. It's like a big cake, fake news is just one ingredient of this. Where does it come? Why? Who's doing it? The puppet masters, who's ever controlling all these things? Well, see, I do believe that truth is going to be unearthed very soon to unveil a lot of these people that are playing in this child pedophile ring. Important people, not just Wiener. I mean, he's just one of, he's just a low man on the totem pole. And there's been a numerous amount of arrests that have been made in the past few months. There was I think there was like 300 and some people that were affiliated with a pedophile ring that were arrested on the West Coast. I don't know, like the week before last. I'll try and find that article and post in the link as well. But you don't hear about these stories. I mean, that was massive. That was absolutely massive, and you hear nothing about it. Nothing. There was like very, very little bit about it. But there's enough that you hear about it so that they say, oh, well, we mentioned that, we covered it. The fake news is out there to destroy everyone's faith, as it really, by rights, should be destroyed. When you think about it, your faith in the mainstream media should be destroyed. But it's not just the mainstream media. It then becomes every news source. It becomes every news story. It becomes everything that you hear. It becomes everything that you think is a fact. You then think it's fiction. It's whatever your mind wants you to think it is. So whenever they come out and they start throwing out names and evidence and proof of these pedophiles, like the bigwig names in the pedophile ring, what do you think is going to happen? All of this has been preparation for these names to come about, because you see, they knew that it was going to come out. They knew that they were going to be exposed. And the best way that they're going to they can't erase the information. They can't erase the tapes, the sex tapes that I'm sure are out there. They can't erase the audio, video, or whatever. But people have been manipulated to the point where they're going to watch someone do something on video. They're going to hear someone say something on video, and then someone else is going to turn around and say, oh, that's fake news, and this is why, and CGI this, which is also valid. However, it's only been given to us the way that it's been given to us so that it could be used against us. As in, used against us for mind manipulation. Yeah, that's what it is. They want to manipulate our thoughts so that when we see the truth, we're going to think it's fake. So that way the truth is out there and the people are exposed. They're exposed for all of their heinous behaviors. And they'll get away with it, scot-free. Don't we see this time and time again? Don't we see this whenever the truth is revealed and then nothing happens? And I kind of touched upon this last week, and I'm still kind of hanging on to that, because it used to be that the most important thing was to know the truth. The truth shall set you free. Well, the truth, came with consequences, right? That's how it usually works. Consequences. There's good consequences, there's bad consequences, but there are consequences. And then someone followed up to carry through with those consequences. There was the balance of your crime versus your time. And it was applicable to everyone. But no, and I don't know how long it hasn't been applicable to everybody. I mean, obviously, there's always been people that have played the system and have gotten away with things, but I'm trying to find that one article, but I'll find it and I'll post it afterwards, about the 300 and some on the West Coast being for pedophile. Now, I don't know whose names are in those, but I went back a couple times to try and find out who specifically was arrested, what were the specific charges. I mean, can we get a coalition together? Can we work amongst ourselves in some way, shape, or form to actually research and follow up? We so lack a follow-up. I mean, that is one of the biggest problems. And it goes back again to the, ooh, shiny. There's always a new fascinating story that comes up. There's always something tantalizing in another corner to follow up on. And if there isn't, and there usually is, because look at all the damn people in the world, but if there isn't, then they'll create it. They'll create one. And it'll be fantastic. It'll be the best choreographed cinematography with the crisis actors that you'll find. Because it's to distract us. It's just, everything is such a distraction. There's no follow-up. And now, because there are people out there who seek the truth, who do want to follow up, I just find that the fake news was created to just cradle that group of people and put them in a nice, another little safe pod of dealt with. Check them off. They've been dealt with. That's how we're going to handle those people. Fake news. And for everyone else, that, I'm so glad when that turns off, it's so loud. For everyone else who it would be skeptical of what they're hearing, they're never really going to know, because there's going to be everybody coming out saying that it's what's it going to take? What is it going to take to differentiate truth from the lie? What does it take? It seems like tangible data doesn't matter. Tangible data meaning like video and audio. Testimony kind of flew out the window long ago. You have a good enough lawyer, or you have a good enough opposition to kind of counterbalance what someone's saying in their testimony, and it kind of gets written off. The people that are doing all of this, I know that some people like to think they're dumb, you know, like those people. I love it when I hear people talk about Trump being stupid. That man may be a lot of things, but stupid is not one of them. It's not. And for as bright as he is, with who he has around him, you know, in his little pods protecting him, he has opposition too. And they're quite bright as well. And they're, I think, more experienced. They've been doing this a lot longer than he has. He's been kind of caught up in his own little Trump world, you know, and building his hotels and so forth. So it's not as though this has been his main focus over the past 30 years. It has been for those who I'm speaking of on the other side, who are going against him, who are designing this platform for all of us to buy into, of the fake news. And again, it's not like the fake news doesn't exist. Fake news is absolutely true, and it's been here for a long time, much longer than just the past, you know, 2 years. There's always been fake news. But why such a push for it now? And yes, Trump did push that quite a bit. I mean, he actually, you would almost think that he pioneered it. He didn't. John Rappaport, he is a brilliant guy. He really is. I've kind of wondered a lot of the time what his affiliation is. And I don't want to dog Alex Jones, and I've spoken about Alex Jones before. I mean, Jones is very Hollywood, you know, and there's something just kind of creepy to me when somebody kind of pushes male vitality liquid drinks. Okay, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with marketing yourself. I mean, and I don't know. I'm just saying what I feel that's sketchy about that. But John Rappaport is on, you know, the Alex Jones show periodically, an investigative reporter. I think his website, I don't know, my gosh, it's been around since the beginning of the internet, perhaps. NoMoreFakeNews.com, and I'll post a link to that too. And he gets into a lot of different esoteric things. He really went after the war on drugs. I mean, he's very into big pharma, basically controlling a lot of things, creating, you know, diseases and so forth. Some may think he's kind of loopy too. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, thinks outside the box, very logical, but I think sometimes to be logical, you know, focused, you have to know how to play in illogical land. If you don't know how to play in the land of illogical thoughts and bizarro, I don't think you're going to make it in the logical world, because it's a disadvantage to only be able to think rigidly and normally, whatever normal is. But NoMoreFakeNews.com has been his site. I mean, so he's had this for years and years and years, and I suspect there have been more than just him too. So fake news isn't anything new. Did Trump get handed a script and get told to propagate the fake news? And he thought by someone he trusted. I mean, unfortunately, I do believe that man is surrounded by those who are wolves in sheep's clothing. Yeah, probably a lot of them. And he should, I mean, I believe he's bright enough too to understand who those people are. Emotions are kind of tricky things though. When you love someone, you don't see what's right in front of you at times. You know, it could be family members that you don't want to believe could be sticking that dagger in your back, but they are, and maybe they're being manipulated. I mean, there's so many layers of manipulation in this little game here of politics and running the world. I'm positive of that. Many layers. It would be very silly to think that it is even just 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional. No, there's a lot of layers. People do things, and it's a mixture of things. People do things for altruistic reasons. People do things for money. People do things for political reasons. People do things for power. People do things for favors. People do things because they know 5 years down the road they're going to want to call in a favor. Loretta Lynch. That's a good example of that. Very important in the Obama administration. Yeah. So nobody talks about Panetta Everybody talks about Podesta. I like all the P's. More people from the Clinton era that kind of linger around. There are a lot of names. Nobody talks about Robbie Mook. If you go on WikiLeaks, I'm a big advocate of just kind of playing on that little field. You can read it to not even understand some of the dialogue that goes on between the people necessarily on the content specifically, but that's not even that important. When you look at who's talking to who all the time, who is talking to who all the time, and what their hierarchy of duty might be, who takes orders from who. I mean, I really was very nervous about Trump becoming president when I saw the kind of well-oiled machine that Clinton had behind her. Oh my goodness, these people would just, you know, send emails back and forth, like dozens and dozens of them, just on her making a phone call to somebody. You think that she can make a phone, as you know, she had all these great positions, she has all this experience in the past. Yeah, Secretary of State, but someone's going to tell you how to make a phone call and what your demeanor should be. Plenty of WikiLeaks emails back and forth. Cheryl Mills, I mean, maybe she should have given the presidency a go, you know, Cheryl, because you seem to have kind of had, you know, Hillary's whole platform down, pegged and spoon-fed to her. Maybe you should have ran. I think you might have probably had a better chance. So again, I'm skipping around because that's what I do. And this is a long video because I'm really just rambling. It's been the end of a long day. I've had so many things kind of running through my head, but I guess my conspiracy truly is that the fake news is planned. It's part of the plan. It's always been. Since, I mean, it's been part of the plan for I don't know how long. Like, I don't think John Rappaport was part of that plan. You know, I don't believe that he is. I believe him to be a man of integrity. And even though, you know, he's not somebody who would be making no mistakes, because we all make mistakes, that's just part of our humanity. I believe that his investigative reporting skills and his involvement in media and his involvement in politics, his involvement in different social movements, and his involvement in the world lends him to be a much better resource. And even though he could be off on certain things, I think he's much closer to the mark on many topics than other people just walking onto the scene. So fake news is just part of what they're going to use. So whenever, you know, it was inevitable. They knew it was going to be inevitable that names were going to start coming out. And I mean big names. I mean big names that are associated with royalty, and not just in America. We're not just talking America. We're talking global. Probably also tied into why the globalists want things to be global. Because these people, I mean, you're talking about emotions that are going to mess with the human psyche in ways when a normal average person, I don't care if you're in Ireland or if you're in America, if you're in Swahili, I don't care where you are, Somali, I don't care. Human emotion is pretty much the same. You have joy and you have love, you have anger, you have hate, you have sadness. These are things that people feel. And when someone violates someone you love, going back to the child pedophile ring, when someone violates someone you love, or when you can stop for a minute and you can imagine that person, that victim, as someone you love, no, that hits a core within ourselves that I think transcends any amount of MK Ultra programming that we could have ever been put under, to make people just stand up and say, no, absolutely not, and just yank the rug out from all of them. If anything is going to make people come together as a whole, I think it would be finding out the atrocities of this. And I think that we are on the precipice of finding out these things with names and connections through factual data, through hardcore evidence. But when we do, They can't kill everybody who's going to put this information out, right? They can't. It's not going to be, I mean, they could, civil war, you know, civil world war, whatever it's going to be. And we're ending on that too, you know, keeping everybody at bay. Wouldn't it be interesting? It's kind of like when Rumsfeld came out. Nobody talks about this either. You know, Rumsfeld came out the day, that was September the 10th, you know, day before 9/11. And just innocently made the comment about, I think it was 2.3 trillion, or was it 3.2 trillion? I think it was 2.3 trillion dollars. I'll post a link to that too in case someone's listening to this still. Oh my goodness, at 20 minutes and you haven't heard about that. Nobody talked about that after. Talking about $2-3 trillion gone. And then nothing is really ever mentioned about it, interestingly. I don't even want to get on the topic of 9/11 and World Trade Center 7 and its affiliation with the CIA. I don't know anything about that. I'll be challenged by all you very smart people out there who have engineering degrees who will tell me about steel melting. I'm like, I don't know that I'm stupid, and we'll go that path, right? Okay, I don't want to ramble on anymore. I guess this whole thing just comes down to fake news was planned. It was. It's part of the agenda. So I'm just going to see if names start getting dropped, and if so, what happens to them afterwards, or if it just goes away. That story just goes away like everything else. All right, that's about it. Everybody have a great week, and if you have any good links to news stories that you feel have gone by the wayside, which were really important, I mean, like kind of pivotal, you know, I'd like to see them. Maybe I should compile a list of them and just throw them out there. There are many stories that that have been buried that need to stay alive because they haven't been properly addressed. Can't really move on. People be like, oh, move on, you know, it's after 9/11, everybody moves on. I'm sorry, there has to be closure. For there to be closure, there has to be some sort of understanding of truth, I think. You know, it's hard to move on when you don't have that, because there's a wound there that's just gaping all the time. It's never been filled with anything appropriate. All right, I'm done rambling now for real. Have a great week. Bye.